Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the program. Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today's program will have Buddy Martin, and then we'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel join us momentarily. If you missed it last night, it was an ass whipping by the Dogs, as I expected. I'll talk to Buddy about it in just a minute, but let's go to the Titan MR hotline. And we are joined by the host of the Buddy Martin Show, good old Buddy Martin. Good morning, Buddy. How are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sleeping. Who won the game? I fell asleep about the second quarter. I don't know how it came out last night.
Oh, boy, Buddy. It was, I was on your show briefly because we had meetings and stuff. And I told you I thought it'd be a blowout.
You did.
I talked to one of our coaches who had friends on the Georgia staff, and they'd talked. And they'd said, this TCU team is about equivalent to a middle to below SEC team. And look, they had a tremendous year. Don't take nothing away from them.
Yeah.
And they beat Michigan. But you got to remember, Michigan threw 2 pick sixes.
Yep.
Michigan threw a post route that should have been a touchdown. They called him down on the 1, and they fumbled the next play. Michigan should have won the game, but they didn't. TCU got there, and they just got embarrassed. Georgia was better at every position. Georgia is the dominant football program in America now. There's no question about it. Kirby's been to 3 national championships in 7 years. They have 2 titles. They're going to be tough to beat. So it was just a beatdown in every category there was. Probably the worst national championship game of any sport. Was it 65-7 was the final?
Yeah, that was it, 65-7. And you called it right. And I had a chance to talk to Urban Meyer yesterday briefly in the morning and about this. He said the same thing you did about it. He said when he saw these teams play late in the year, he saw TCU and Texas Tech, he said. And he said these look like 2 middle-of-the-road programs.
Yeah.
To him, and then he said, of course, it gives Urban great delight to throw it back on Michigan. He said, there was not only, was it 2 pick sixes, but a terrible call down on the reverse, they called. And he said, I just don't see it. I said, would you take the 14 points? He said, no way. But he's like you. He said, you remember TCU wasn't that great. Michigan helped them. But I got to tell you, I like that old TCU team. It can happen to you. Look, and it wasn't that long ago, Florida got it handed to them by Nebraska. Who could forget that, right? But this was,
right.
You're right about one thing. It was the worst beatdown of any championship game I can ever remember in any sport.
Yeah, and take nothing away from TCU. They are who they are, but the SEC, for whatever people want to say, it could be top-heavy this year, what have you, but it's the dominant conference. I mean, you look at the Big 12 champ, Kansas State, gets annihilated in their bowl game against Alabama. TCU had so many remarkable last-minute wins. Give them credit. Phenomenal year for the Frogs. But it is what it is. I also want to give a shout-out to, as Andy says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Congrats to Tim Tebow, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a no-brainer. I just didn't know when all that came out. But Mark Brick is also going in, former coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. Somebody texted me, forgot who it was, Buddy, after Tebow was announced and said they felt like Percy Harvin would be the next Gator. And I don't think he qualifies, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't think
so. He's not going to make it because he may be the best player in the history of Florida football, according to some.
And he won't go in the ring. He won't even get in the Ring of Honor, much less the College Football Hall of Fame.
No,
So
loose honors are, well, I mean, he's a great player. Doesn't mean he wasn't a great player. Here's the thing about, I want to say one thing about this, one more thing about the game. We get deluded sometimes because we get pumped so full by ESPN and others about how great this team is. Look what they did. This is going to be great. And we buy into it because they want to create that idea that it's a close game. Now, I even played around with the idea. A lot of Gator fans took the 14 points because they wanted Georgia to lose. You just can't want a team to lose. But if you think about it, the SEC, the greatest conference in all of college football forever, and maybe one of the top three teams, well, certainly one of the top three teams of all time, play against a team that didn't even win the back-to-back, the Pac-10. I mean, the Big 12. Big 12 didn't even win it. Like you said. So how could that possibly be? Well, we saw the result last night. And now, Shane, I made up a new word. I couldn't even think of one to describe Georgia because they're not there yet, but I call them dynastic, which means they're not a dynasty quite yet, but they're on the way to being one. And boy, I tell you, that team, it's built differently, isn't it? Built differently. Really, they got players everywhere. And I mean, Stetson Bennett, I don't even want to say anything else about him. He was fantastic. And you and I both appreciate what he is. Urban told me yesterday, first time he saw Stetson on the field this year, he said, "That's a quarterback? That's the smallest quarterback I've ever seen." Well, he is five. Urban Meyer, when he saw him on the field. But he said he was a pro. I'm just seeing.
I've been a fan of Stetson since he came off the bench in 2020, I guess, when they were losing at Arkansas, their 5-star quarterback, DeJuan Mathis. I mean, it was like he couldn't even play football. So they took him off the bench and he led a comeback. And, I've said many times I'd go on Buck Belush's show, like last year, and Buck, they all wanted JT Daniels. They all want Carson Beck. Let me tell you, the kid's a competitor. He's a winner. He does things you cannot teach. Here's my thing for, Georgia's got 3 5-star quarterbacks on their roster, buddy. I don't know how, and we know they're going to have talent and we know they're going to come back, but the dude that makes that team go is Stetson Bennett. And so it'll be interesting to see how Georgia plays next year without him. It's no different than when Danny left or when Tebow left.
Sure.
Now, we're not putting him Stetson, he didn't win the Heisman, but hell, he won more national titles. Tebow's got 2, but one of them, he really wasn't a starter. He was a kind of a temporary player.
He had Chris Leak.
Right.
The greatest.
But I think it's going to be tough for the Dogs without Stetson Bennett.
I don't think so. You know why? They'll plug it in and play in different ways. They play. Look. They didn't have a really great running back this year. They had 2 fantastic tight ends. Okay, 2 fantastic, and a quarterback who could run and throw and was smart. And could win the game for you if he had to. And by the way, will go down as the all-time greatest Bulldog. You tell me anybody else you could put in there. I don't care about Herschel, none of them. This guy won 2 national championships, and they tried to get him out of Athens. They threw rocks at him like he was a stray dog, and this guy's an amazing story. I know Gator fans don't want to hear about it, but it was an amazing thing, and you're right. So here they are, 65-7. Here's the bad part about it. The Georgia Bulldogs are not going away. Already, the preseason polls, they're ranked to win again next year.
Yeah, they should be. But again, I'm telling you right now, they're going to have some issues at the quarterback position, in my opinion.
Well, who's it going to be? Carson Beck?
I'm just saying he's not the player that Stetson Bennett is.
I wouldn't. Hey, look, Alabama's got to find one too.
Oh yeah, they got serious problems at quarterback. Boy, we have a long text here talking about. This is from on the Titan More text line. It doesn't tell me who it's from. It says the portal rankings. The Gators are 64th in the portal rankings. I don't know if you knew that, buddy. And FSU's number 2. We have not replaced Tarquin or White. We know freshman starting on a line doesn't occur, and if it does, usually it's indicated. First, Michael Tarquin was not a starter. Ethan White was. We lost out on the O-lineman from Miami to Tennessee. We missed on the guard Makuza from Baylor, Nebraska. Missed on solid edge from South Carolina, Edmond, and we only have 3 total edges. We have no wide receivers coming in from the portal, so if Pearsall leaves, we are in trouble. Evals taking too long. Got to make more offers. Need kids now. By my counting, okay. So my argument to this text is, do you not think Billy Napier and his staff is trying to do this? Again, Gator fans only think one way. A kid being recruited is thinking multiple ways, right, buddy? We cannot, all we can do as a staff is put your best foot forward and go try to sign guys. You can't make a decision for those kids. And that's just my thoughts. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
buddy?
I think there's angst among Gator fans because they read these things and they know how to interpret them. They did get the linebacker from Michigan, the linebacker from Ohio State in the transfer portal, got to recruit a big offensive lineman, 6'8", 300 something, and I don't, me, Shane, I don't live by this stuff, but it feels like they're a little bit slow on the uptake in the portal. But again, you point this out. I know.
There's nothing we can do about it.
I understand. I'm going to quote you by saying that there's a lot going on. There's negotiations now. I see Cam Rising coming back to Utah. There's all kind of rumors.
Just so people know, Cam Rising was interested in being a Gator.
Yeah, but it was not.
But his price tag was way too high.
Right. They want $3 million or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. And so I'm just saying now it's not just a matter of being able to match up a team and a player, it's how much. And now everything is a negotiation. So we don't know. How can we have that information? We don't know.
Yeah, it's really dumb is the wrong word to use, but it's not smart for fans to think that Billy and them are taking too long to evaluate. They ain't taking too long to evaluate. They're going after players that they think can help the Gators win. That doesn't mean the Gators are going to be those kids are going to become Gators. There's multiple schools out there in the portal looking. And he says Billy recruited the kid transferring from Michigan Spur like when he was at Louisiana. There. So he's coming. The Ohio State guy's coming, as you said. We got a kid from Louisville. We got the kid from Memphis. It is what it is. Zach says Rising wants to be a Gator. He did. There was a lot of talk about that this off season leading up to his bowl game. I don't know why he'd want to come to Gainesville for just 1 year. You heard that, right, too, buddy?
Yeah, that was the word out there. That's the word. But there's a lot of guys who might want to come. We don't know yet. It's not over yet. Here's the thing, and when you say all you want to about all this stuff, and we get it. People want more 5 stars and more 4 stars. They want more transfer portal, and I think they've been a little slow on the uptake on the transfer portal. It seems to me, but I don't know anything about how it works. It feels like others are jumping up ahead of them, but we
don't know. We don't know what the cause.
I understand. Right. I understand, but you got to get down. I guess down to one thing, and you said this, Shane. You have to trust somebody to be your coach. And what's going to work for you is a team. I know it's a cornball team concept, playing for a team, a team, the unity. And I'm going to take this to the absurd point, but it is true. You saw what happened to Buffalo in the NFL. I mean, this young man, a great story that he is, DeMar, I will always love that comment he made when they woke him up from the coma. And he said, "Did we win?" Now that'll give you chills, right? That's what you call a teammate, right? That's what you call about putting everything out there for your teammates. And until you have that concept, and Dan Mullen said we're a bunch of independent contractors 3 years ago. He wasn't wrong. They're more so now. I think Billy is the glue, but it's going to take a minute. It's not going to be, and you said this, Shane, 100 times, not going to be this year, maybe next year. But the recruiting process and the transfer portal, certainly key. We live and die for those stories, but there was some progress this week. Maybe not enough, but we got until February to figure that out. Then you got to say, as coaches say, go coach them up.
Yeah, I mean, Florida season next year, winning 9 games, it depends on one position and one position on the quarterback. If they get good quarterback play, they can win 9.
I agree.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text sign from Darrow. Says, "Good morning, guys. Do y'all think Jim Harbaugh's going to leave Michigan? I heard there's some possible recruiting violations going on."
Possible. They already been nailed with it.
Yeah, it was what? He bought a hamburger for a kid or something?
No, he has a level 1 and a level 3 against him.
Oh,
it's big. It's major. But the problem is
that.
Yeah, the problem is that because in this Wild Wild West scenario, what he did now, other people are doing, but Michigan got nailed for it. So yeah, that's not any news there. It's happened several days ago. So they'll take him back. You know why? Because as Urban told me yesterday, Michigan people are really tolerant. He's lost 6 postseason games. 6. And of course they're going to keep him if he stays, I guess. So
Real quick, buddy, before we get you out of here,
yeah.
I just saw one of these Facebook Lives. Let me see if I can find it again. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Oh, here it is. Joseph asks or says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Word on the street, quote, word on the street, is Strickland isn't completely on board with the NIL. All right, let me address it, and I want you to get your thoughts.
All right.
If I'm not mistaken, it doesn't matter if Scott Strickland or Jeremy Foley or Bill Arns, whoever the athletic director is at whatever institution, has zero to do with the NIL because they are not making any decisions at what this group or this person outside is offering an athlete. Is that right or wrong?
In theory, yes. In practicality, no. And you can't tell me there aren't people influencing decisions. You're going to tell me if you're in the market and you got a guy you might get as a 5-star and you're at Southern Cal and this guy says, well, that's not enough money, that the athletic director wouldn't be asked, can you give us the name of a booster or something? Can you help us out? He wouldn't make a phone call. Now, I don't know that, but I mean, there's no way to police it. The NCAA is not going to do it. So you give them an opportunity to get an edge in recruiting somehow. Yes, they will cheat. We've seen that. I'd like to think it's true. I think there are some programs that do adhere to it, but there's quite a few that don't. Just don't forget the big brouhaha between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. There's a lot said there, and so there's stuff that goes on. People turn their backs on it, they wink, they move on. I'd like to think that, but I can't agree with it.
All right, but again, back to the athletic director, really has nothing to do with NIL.
Supposedly, yes, in theory, you're correct.
The people that are supposed to help out with the NIL are your major donors that have a ton of money.
That's what you're going to get a collective for, and the other organizations.
Well, and I think sometimes, as I've said many times, these guys that have millions and billions of dollars make good decisions throughout their lifetime to have that kind of money.
No doubt.
And they probably, if they're smart, say, why in the hell do I want to give this kid money when I don't even know if he's going to perform or not?
Well,
that's why I think it's going to work itself out because of how bad A&M got burned paying those guys. Tony says here, UGA second string on both sides of the ball could transfer to UF and all start immediately. That's how big the talent is.
Okay, maybe if they fit the program and the style and what, like you always tell me, you don't know who they're going after. You don't know the style they want. I mean, yeah, athletically, yes, but there's certain players that fit systems better than others. So yeah, I mean, look, if you get caught up in an enemy like that, you'll never just take your team, root for your team, hope they have a good year, watch them improve and stay with them. And let's see. Remember Stetson Bennett. He wasn't no 5-star, okay? Just remember that.
Last thing here, Zach says, love to hear our take on Cliff Kingsbury. Would Napier entertain that? I would say absolutely not.
No.
Says might feel like the Spur days again. Great offense is fun to watch. His offense is that if you think about Mississippi State, I love Mike Leach and I love parts of the air raid, but it's too dinking and dunking for me.
Yeah.
And there's no run game involved. So
I talked to a coach recently of a major program, and who said to me, I love Mike Leach. I love him. I spent time around him, had to come speak to my team. He's a genius, but I could never run what he ran. It just doesn't work. I'll leave you this, Shane. I know you want to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said there's bits and pieces of the air raid I like, but it's too horizontal for me. I need down the field vertical stuff.
Really, you like that old? Okay, you used to run so many swing routes and so many wheel routes, right? All right, so here's the day. I love this Georgia tweet last night. First of all, there's two of them. First of all, somebody tweeted the entire TCU Horned Frogs team has entered the transfer portal. The second one was talk about the little fans. They said, my dad got in a car accident today. So I texted my brother, how's dad doing? He said, good. Other than he thinks Stetson should be the number one pick.
Now, it'd be interesting to see if anybody drafts him late. If they just,
I would
know
say, you think he'll get drafted?
No, but he will get an opportunity to go to camp, and it wouldn't surprise me if he made a team for a while.
Yeah.
Real quick, Gator Hoops, big win over Georgia. They play at
Yeah.
LSU tonight. Can they beat the Tigers?
Well, they played awfully good against Georgia, and I saw a different team. I was about to write them off. They will not beat LSU tonight, but I think I saw some stuff Todd Golden's going on. Guys can shoot the basketball. When they shoot the basketball, they're competitive. When they don't, Colin Castleton can't win it by himself.
That's very true. Buddy, we appreciate you taking the time, my man.
Good to see you.
Have a good day, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Shane.
That's Buddy Martin joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker in Paris, will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. We're going to take a quick time out, come back. We'll have Edgar Thompson get his thoughts on Gator athletics and other things going on in the sports world. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant. Spurs Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by the Orlando Sentinel beat writer, Edgar Thompson. Good morning, Edgar. How are you?
Hey, Shane. Doing well, man. Sounds like you're a busy guy.
Oh man, it's meetings, practice, more meetings. It's back to training camp days. That's what you do. You don't get to see a whole lot of stuff. We did get to watch the game last night, which was a massacre. It was exactly how I thought it was going to be, though. So before we jump into that and other stuff, I want to get your thoughts. The PGA Tour pretty much kicked itself off against last week out there in Hawaii. Did you watch any of it?
I watched Sunday. I mean, I kept an eye on it, but it was unbelievable. Colin Morikawa, 6-shot lead, and just can't hold it. It's like you hate to see that for a guy. I mean, we've played enough golf where when it gets going south, it can go south. You don't see it with those guys though very often. That was the equivalent of not being able to break 100 for one of us, where you just have a miserable day out there. But yeah, I mean, losing a 6-shot lead, and John Rahm played his tail off, 63. He looks like the guy I was expecting we were going to see last year. Remember, he came off the year or 2 years ago, and it looked like he was going to be. I mean, he's the most talented overall player in the game, along with maybe Rory. I'd even take Rahm. And he didn't have much of a year last year, but he had a kid and maybe some distractions. We'll see. It's gonna be an interesting year because no live guys. This is the first full year with like some well, I don't even know, some definity around live. Who's not going to be on tour. I mean, like Cam Smith not being on tour, Dustin Johnson not being on tour. I mean, it's really going to be strange. And I'm going to be covering Bay Hill and TPC soon. And that's going to be unique. Bryson DeChambeau won Bay Hill a couple years ago. So there are going to be a bunch of guys that just aren't going to be at this event. Cam Smith won the Players Championship.
Right.
How are they going to promote that tournament? I mean, that's usually like he's on the person's on the program. He's doing all the interviews, and now he's not even going to be there. So it's really going to be an odd season.
Yeah. All right. Switching gears to college football, I got some questions here regarding the Gators. And Andy asked, are y'all surprised that Trent Whittemore's going to UCF? Did the coaching change at Mississippi State impact that? I can answer that. First of all, his brother Creed is still going. I think he enrolled yesterday at Mississippi State. He could have gotten out of his LOI with the coaching change or what have you, but he still wanted to go to Mississippi State. With the coaching change, that did impact Trent's decision. Trent, I think it was down to between UCF and West Virginia, I believe. His dad played wide receiver at UCF. The new offensive coordinator, Darren Henshaw, I think's his name, who was a quarterback at UCF, was his dad's quarterback at UCF. So it kind of all worked out well for Trent. I think he'll be great down there. But that's kind of the rundown on the Whittemore family.
Well, yeah, UCF's our beat writer Jason Beatty, the guy is just on top of UCF, man. He's a former 247 guy, so he's just prolific about every little, nuance. And we're the paper that like it's different here. Like I cover Gators and I do some other sports as we just discussed, but I don't have to do every bit of minutia because there's so many other people. I mean, we got 1-3, you got 247. These guys do great jobs. Gainesville Sun, blah, blah, blah. UCF is our baby in Orlando. And so Jason was like, I don't know why they're signing this guy. They got tons of receivers. And I said, he's got pretty good hands, man. I mean, I don't know what happened last year with him. You might have some insight how he just faded out of the picture. I mean, I thought he was going to be maybe there if Pearsall turned out to be as good as we were thinking. And he was pretty good, especially by the end of the season. And then Shorter, I thought he was behind those two. And then he didn't play.
I don't know what happened. I have not spoken with Trent or his dad about that. I think they were a little confused as well, but it is what it is, and he's moving on, and I think he'll be fine. I think he'll find himself in the rotation at UCF. I firmly believe that.
No, he will, because what I was trying to say, sorry, I never get to the point quickly enough, is they had a lot of drops last year. And I said, well, he's pretty reliable.
Correct. Yeah, no doubt about it. Also had, when I had Buddy on earlier, a lot of people asking questions and they're upset, I guess. One guy texted saying the Gators in the portal rankings are like 65th, where Florida State is like 4th. They don't think we're heavy enough in the portal activity right now. I've answered it my way. I don't know what the right answer is. I just say, you can't convince people to come play for you regardless of your school if they don't want to, and you don't know what they're being offered elsewhere. What can you tell us about what's going on in the portal there, Edgar?
Well, this John Campbell kid, Miami transfer, decided to go to Tennessee last night. You saw that?
I did. I heard about it.
Dr. Phillips' kid, Chris Hayes, who's been fantastic covering recruiting for us for years and knows all these kids. I mean, he's amazing at how he gets to know all these guys. He wasn't overly, he said I hate to use this word because it's a little despair. He's kid's kind of a soft player. I mean, he's not a physical lineman. He's more of a finesse guy, let's say. He's not Austin Barber. One thing I like about Austin Barber, man, he's on the attack. And he isn't that. So he didn't think it was a huge loss, but they need numbers, man. They need some players, need some linemen. So that wasn't great. But this Al Walcott guy who went to Arkansas and then he make the visit here, That to me looked like a bit of a loss. He looked like he's a pretty good player, very productive. So, I mean, yeah, you look, I mean, Cam Johnson, I think looks like a guy, the Memphis kid can come in and make an impact. I like him. I mean, Graham Mertz is obviously going to play quarterback. And in fairness to Graham Mertz, who we had our nice little debate last week about, I mean, the young man was a highly touted guy coming out of high school. And as you said, played in a pretty bad offense. So we'll see what they can do with him. And I mean, I have hopes for him that he's going to be a solid player. I don't think he's going to be like a game-changing guy, but he could, who knows? Maybe he'll find the right fit and right system, and he and Pierce will get some chemistry and a couple other guys, and it'll be a good year. But beyond that, man, I mean, who do they got? This Spurlock kid from Michigan, the linebacker, he's only a freshman last year, so we don't really know what he's going to be. He wasn't a highly touted guy, but he seems to be versatile. I think he was a high school like safety maybe or something, and so he might be a versatile guy who can cover maybe, which they could use, maybe to replace Amari Burney. Not that he was great in coverage, but he was a decent cover guy, made the big pick against Utah. And then they got the kid Mitchell from Ohio State, who he seems to me to be more like a special teams guy and things like that, and a leadership guy than just someone who's going to come in and just pile up tackles. But Shamar James, if he takes a step, should be that guy this year. So they haven't done like great work in the portal, certainly not a lot of guys. And Florida State, meanwhile, is killing in the portal. And so when you look at the contrast, I'll tell you this, Brandon Marcello, who does a great job for 24/7 Sports, he's a national guy now, background's at Auburn. I don't know if you know Brandon, bust his tail. He did his top 30 the other day. He has Georgia, LSU, and FSU in the top 5. He has Tennessee 14, Utah 19, South Carolina 24, I believe. So that's like, look at all those guys are on the Gators schedule. I mean, that's scheduled next year. And then they have a stretch where they get Georgia, Arkansas at LSU, 3-game stretch. And Arkansas might be a teeny bit down, but Arkansas is going to be physical. You know that. I mean, that's a physical football team. And, Kentucky's not even in that top 30. So, and they go there. So the schedule is going to be tough, man, again.
I guess I look at it. I'm one of maybe the only person in America that does not think Florida State's a very good football team. I didn't think I told everybody watching tape and going into our game, I said, this team is not that good. I said, Jordan Travis makes plays. He scrambles around. He's much improved, and they're decent. They barely beat us, and we're not a good football team. They play a horrible Oklahoma team and barely beat them. I just don't see it. Like I said, I think I'm the only person.
A lot of people have them hyped up.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
I don't think they beat a team that had a winning record.
I don't know. Did Wake Forest? They didn't beat Wake Forest, actually.
They didn't beat Wake Forest. That's what I'm saying.
They had a stretch. They had a stretch in the middle of the season. I agree with you, where it was like they had opportunities and they lost to Wake, NC State, and Clemson. Right. And that was when I was like, yeah, they're nothing great going on there. I don't know, man. I don't know enough about them. I know they're bringing back a lot of guys. I mean, shoot, that Jared Verse guy coming back was huge, dude. I mean, that would have been like Osiris Torrance coming back for the Gators or something. And that guy's going to be drafted higher than Osiris Torrance. I mean, he was like a top 20-ish pick. And he came back.
Yeah, and I agree with this text. He says, when you win like FSU did this past season, they will come. When we win 8 or 9 games, they will come. I agree with that. That's why the kid that you just talked about, the offensive lineman, he probably chose Tennessee. They won 10 games. He wants to go there. They're hot right now. And yes, Ted, FSU did beat LSU. That was the first game of the year. But that's the only team I think they beat with a winning record. I think that's the only team that they won in their 10 wins that had a winning record.
Bottom line, they have a good thing going there in terms of momentum. People are bought in. I'm just saying, Jordan Travis came back. And I know we had our debate last week. Someone was telling me yesterday the Gators would have welcomed Anthony back with open arms. They weren't trying to push him out the door.
I've heard different than there. I mean, some wanted him back, some didn't want him back.
They were not that like broken up about really anyone who went in the portal. It sounded like, but they would have welcomed back Anthony. I don't even know. I haven't had a conversation with anyone in that building. I'm not going to like make inferences or, implications about any of it. But getting Jordan Travis back, getting Verse back, that's pretty nice for FSU. And
No, I think it's great. I think it's great they won 10 games. But again, they beat one team, the first game of the year, that had a winning record. That's why my eyes tell me when I watch them play, they're an okay football team, but they're not a top 10 team. I'll argue with that with anybody.
This isn't the old Bowden teams. There's no doubt about that.
No,
Those teams were stacked. They were
but
unbelievable.
you give me the rest of the top 10. I don't even know who they are, the preseason, and I would take that team against FSU in every game they play.
I have the list somewhere, but look, bottom line, man, is Florida State also was in year 3 last year. We want to kind of apply it here to Florida, because next year, again, whether you think FSU is good or not, the Gators' schedule is very difficult. It's challenging. They're at South Carolina, at Kentucky, at Missouri, even, and late November is not an easy game. We've seen that. I've been there many times and watched the Gators lose games there that I didn't think they were going to. So, I'm not saying you got to start already looking to year 3, but Norvell, a lot of people were real unhappy with Norvell after 2 years. And then year 3, it kind of took off. And I could see that being the same kind of situation here. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see for sure. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Edgar Thompson here on the Titan More Hotline. All right, Edgar, Gator basketball. Have a horrible first half against Georgia, turn it around the second half. Big win against Mike White. They're in Baton Rouge tonight to face the LSU Tigers with a new coach. He's got a lot of his players that play on his team. Small, group of 5 type players, but they're a good basketball team. How do you see it playing out tonight?
I think the Gators are are they favored? I think someone was telling me, which is interesting. But I tell you, man, here's one interesting thing. This KJ Williams guy for LSU, who's really putting up some numbers. Colin Castleton, it's like night after night, man. That guy is in a matchup, isn't he? It's like he's got to bring it every night. I mean, the kid's playing his tail off. I know he had some games where he hasn't produced quite at the level, but man, it isn't because of effort. And he's having to bring it every night. The Gators are lucky he came back. I'll say that much. You talk about it, transferring or leaving or whatever. Without him, my Lord. But the Gators finally showed they finally won a close game. I mean, look, they lost 2 3-point games and weren't finishing, and they're in danger of falling below 500, Shane, for the first time since Billy Donovan's last season, during 8 years now, when I think at one point they were like 12-13 that year. And that could still happen. I mean, it ain't going to get any easier for the Gators. I mean, at LSU tonight, then you get Missouri, which is a very solid team. I mean, dude, they got a stretch where they go to Kansas State on the 28th, then they get Tennessee at home, then they're at Bama, at Kentucky. It's a 4-game stretch coming up soon for the Gators. And next week they have 2 road. They got 2 road games next week. So Todd Golden, similar to Billy, is their growing pains this year and taking their lumps with the rebuild. I love dealing with Todd, man. I mean, he does explain things like things they're doing well. He digs into the numbers. He's talking about their 2-point field goal percentage and the 2-point field goal percentage defense, which he says is a great indicator. They're like 55-6 and then 41-ish on the defensive on 2-pointers. So they're protecting the basket. I mean, Castleton had 7 blocks the other night. They had a run in that game, man. They were down 13 and they had a 21-4 run. Did you watch the game?
Yes, I did.
Was the first half?
Yes.
That they looked good then. 21-4 run. That was they played some really good basketball in that stretch. So if they can play like that a little more consistently, they just, I mean, like, I hate to use that expression, is what it is. I mean, it's just a team. This is the era of the transfer portal too. You're putting together teams, you're pulling pieces together from all over and doing all this. It's just hard to do and get that chemistry. And they made a step, and we'll see if they can build upon it. But, LSU is 1-2 in SEC play right now itself, but I think 12-3 overall. But, the coach, and I don't have it in front of you. What's that guy's name? The Murray State guy? What is it? Mahoney?
I don't even know his name.
Yeah, but he was a guy that I thought the Gators actually might go after. But they ended up going with Todd, and seemed, that was the way they decided to go. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's Mike McMahon. There's a long I mean, it's gonna be a long season, man, just like with football. I mean, it's just...
everybody's going to say that in the SEC in basketball. I think I've never seen the SEC in basketball as good as it is this year. Quite honestly, it's crazy how good it is. It is stacked.
Chris from Cottondale, stacked, man.
Yeah, Chris from Cottondale on the Titan MR text line says, "You aren't the only person. I think FSU is average to above average. Don't understand, and I am frustrated by the semi-hype." And then Cliff said on Facebook Live, if FSU played our schedule, they would not have had the season they had. Well, that's true. But again, and I'm glad that got verified because I have not looked it up. But the only team they beat with a winning record was game 1 when they beat LSU, when LSU played as poorly as they possibly could. It still almost won the game. So I'm not buying the hype. Congratulations to them for having a good year. Congratulations for them doing what they're doing in the portal and guys coming back. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
They're doing well in the portal. That's indisputable, I think.
I don't even know who they got. I don't even know who they got out of the portal. The only person I know is the tight end from South Carolina, Jaheim Bell. I couldn't tell you one other player they got out of the portal.
Well, I mean, I can look it up for you, but FSU, and I am not going nuts on FSU, man. I mean, I don't know enough, but I do think getting Jordan Travis and Jared Verse back, and, in the Gators case, losing some guys, and I don't think they lost like a bunch of key guys, but if Anthony Richardson was coming back, and I know you're not a huge fan, and Osiris,
it's not I'm not a huge fan. I just don't think he's a very good quarterback.
Okay, I know you don't, but
I mean, you won 6 games with him.
Well, if they'd gotten Michael Pratt or gotten Sam Hartman or something like that, but I just
those guys win and those guys compete. It's a different. I mean, I don't get enamored with the God-given stuff. I look at what makes you win games playing quarterback. That's me personally. Everybody has their own opinion.
Hey, no, and you look, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying they got back their quarterback. They got back their edge guy.
Yeah. Adam asked.
Look, this guy's got him number 3, dude. I mean, number 3 next year. I think that's a little much.
Who?
Brandon Marcello. There's a lot of hype around this guy.
Oh my God. Well, he's just trying to sell. 3. He's trying to get clicks, because if he thinks FSU is the number 3 team in America, he does not watch football. I don't know the guy. I respect. I mean, he obviously does not watch them play. Adam says on Facebook Live, Shane, is 8-4 realistic expectations going into next year? I say absolutely yes. Edgar pointed out difficult schedule. You can look at it 2 ways. I think every year, this is just my personal opinion, I do not think South Carolina is very good. I watched them. I watched them in the swamp. I called the Gator Bowl. I will tell you right now, that team is not very good. Okay. Vanderbilt, we should beat. I do not think Kentucky is very good. I think Stoops has done wonders with them. I do not think Kentucky is very good. I think we're just as good as they are right now. Yes, we lost to them, but I think we're just as good as them. And then Missouri, we should not lose to Missouri. Those 4 games should be marked down as wins for the rest of from now on. I'm just convinced of that, Edgar. I know every now and then some things may happen, but Florida should not lose to those teams, and it needs to start next year. And then, we'll see about Utah playing there, all that. I'm not convinced on. So I do think we can win 8 games next year, and that's without even knowing who's on this roster.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's not doable, but at Kentucky and at Missouri, I mean, it's tougher than playing them in the swamp. And hey, that's the one game. If you want to, bash, if you want to criticize Anthony Richardson, Kentucky's the game to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost them the game. I mean, that was just terrible performance. I mean, the interceptions he threw, and that was not a good performance. But he improved as the year got on with that kind of stuff, making those kind of mistakes. And, but he ended on it. Obviously, if Anthony Richardson, let's talk FSU again. I mean, if the guy wasn't what was he, 9 of 27, missed 11 straight throws. I mean, if he had completed just a few passes in that game, they could have won it. So that was, hey, look, man, we're not in total disagreement on that. The schedule is tough, but it is always going to be tough in the SEC. So that's just a given. You're going to have a tough schedule if you're playing in the SEC.
Yeah, that's no test. Andy corrected us. FSU beat Louisville, and they were 8-5 this season. So they beat two teams with winning records, I guess. Don asks, is Stetson Bennett going to be a good QB in the NFL? Stetson will probably go undrafted. He will get invited to some camps, and he will probably make some rosters as a third guy, but he will probably not. He will probably never be a starter. Brandon says AR will be a first-round pick. Let's embrace that. Nobody's argued that. We've said that since day one. I mean, everybody knows that. So anyway, all right, Edgar, we appreciate your time. What else you got on your mind? Anything where people can read your work?
I mean, OS Gators is my Twitter handle. I'm actually working on a couple of bigger feature things. I got the LPGA, and then next week I got the LPGA season opener in Orlando. So I'm starting to dig in a little golf and doing some different stuff. Daytona's on the horizon, but I'll be keeping an eye on the Gators. I mean, they got this one young man tonight. I believe he said he's going to announce this. I couldn't pronounce his last name if I wanted, but Micah Mazkua or something. He's a Baylor guard. He hasn't committed, and that would be a good get for the Gators. I think they're pretty high on that kid, and I think they can get him. So keep an eye out for that. I mean, what have you heard on him?
Nothing. I'm at the point now where I never follow recruiting and stuff, but I'm definitely not really worried about it now. Look, I trust our coaches because I go back to the best players on the football team or players they brought in. You gotta hang your hat on that, whether it's right or wrong or whatever.
They like this guy.
Yeah. So we'll see.
They need a lineman.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Edgar, appreciate your time, my man.
Thanks, Shane. Good luck with football.
All right, that's Edgar Thompson. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat. Schedule your air conditioners tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us today at 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 2011, 13th BCS National Championship game. Auburn, led by Cam Newton, beats Oregon 22-19. I want to thank Buddy Martin and Edgar Thompson for joining us on the Titan MRI hotline. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We will appreciate you joining the program today. That'll be it for today, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care, folks.